Cole Hamels is now eligible to go to the Hall of Fame. One of my favorite Phillies writers is John Foley. He's got his own Substack. 2008 Phils with a Z is the Substack. You got to get a better website address, John, by the way. It's a little easier to find, a little easier to explain. But John was the one who convinced me with stats that Jimmy Rollins should be in the Hall of Fame. And when I saw his post about Cole Hamels, my first instinct was Cole Hamels is a good pitcher, but he's not a Hall of Famer. And after reading it, I have a different perspective. So we have John on to talk about it. Thank you, John. Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, what's going on? First time, long time, man.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way to start it. So why don't you give just some context about what are the requirements once you're eligible to get into the Hall for everyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, sure. So the voters are all members of the BBWAA, the Baseball Writers Union, and the player needs to hit votes on 75% of their ballots to be inducted. They get 10 years to reach that mark. If you're Ichiro or whoever, you hit that on your first try, no problem. But for most guys, the goal is to get to 5% in your first year or two. In your first year, stay on the ballot, and then gradually make your way to 75. Now, if you fall below 5% in any year, you're off the ballot, and then you have to wait on the veterans committees down the line, sort of like the way Dick Allen got in last year.
So for context, where are Utley and Rollins at this point? Like, just for context, when we start talking about Hamels.
Yeah. For context, Utley is in good shape. Utley's in pretty good shape. He reached about 40% last year in his second year on the ballot, and that's probably the right trajectory to eventually hit 75 in the next 8 years. He's in good shape.
Yeah, baseball heads know. Yeah.
And what about Rollins?
And Rollins sadly is not on that same trajectory. He's at around 18% after 4 years, and he's probably not going to get there just because, that surprises a lot of people because Rollins tops Utley in most of the traditional categories, counting stats and whatnot.
Yeah, the boring stats.
Yeah, exactly. But Utley has the edge when it comes to the advanced stats like WAR, and that's what's more trendy nowadays, right? So when you look at the path forward, Utley, he's at 40%. He's strong in the areas where voters are starting to look more. Rollins, I think years ago, he would have been almost automatic with his counting stats, but it's not the case nowadays, sadly.
So for Hamels, what I looked at initially, Hamels has 160 wins, 162. So my first blush was, well, that's not nearly enough. But I'm old. So given like where the baseball is now, can you give some context on the 162 wins and who will be going in maybe around the same time and what their win level is at?
Yeah, so admittedly, 162 really does not seem like enough, and it's the biggest flaw in Hamels' case. You look at any other metric, he fits right in with guys who are already in the Hall of Fame. Strikeouts, ERA, WHIP, all of that. As far as wins go, there's only 2 or 3 starters in the Hall with fewer wins. But the thing is, wins aren't what they used to be, right? Rotations used to be 4 guys, not 5. They would all throw 8 or 9 innings and get a decision every time out. Cy Young had 511 wins. Walter Johnson had 417. It's crazy. Nowadays, 5 innings and you get pulled for your relief specialists. So voters are going to have to adjust. You're never going to see a 300-game winner again. So it's tough for Hamels to be sort of one of the earliest guys, from an era where those win totals are not as impressive. To start making his way in.
I guess the big thing for me, John, would be if a pitcher or a player from the naked eye didn't dominate a certain era or his field, it would be hard for me to view them as a Hall of Famer. But I also look at it this way. Baseball has made it too hard to get in the Hall of Fame. And basketball has made it too easy to get in the Hall of Fame. How do we get to a middle ground where we appreciate these guys and put them in the Hall without disrespecting the guys that have come before, but still making the Hall of Fame the ultimate goal to achieve? Like, I don't want it to be easy to get in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but, there are guys I watched growing up playing that I'm like, he was one of the better players of his era, but he didn't have 500 home runs or 3,000 hits, so he's probably not getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's you don't want to water it down, but I do think there's a trend, especially among starting pitchers for the Baseball Hall of Fame, where, you think Hall of Famer, you think the top guys in the Hall of Fame, right? The no doubters. Mm-hmm. You're thinking about Walter Johnson, and then you look at Cole Hamels and you say he's no Walter Johnson, and well, no, he's not. But not everybody in the Hall of Fame is one of those top guys, and really, I think there's, if you look at players in the Hall of Fame with over 200 games started, there's only 69 of them in the Hall of Fame. In the history of the game, which I would argue is that we're setting too high of a bar. That's a minuscule percentage of the guys that play baseball. Where if you set the mark more around the top 3-4% of guys to play the game, then you do have the guys like Hamels. And it's reasonable people can disagree as to whether that's watering down what the Hall of Fame means, but at a certain point, if we don't adjust the standards here, you're not going to be putting in many pitchers at all.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so if I were to say, give me a couple of numbers that would surprise people that would make the case for Hamels. Make the case for Hamels.
Okay. So the best number I got is if you take all the pitchers, all the starting pitchers in the Hall of Fame already, all 69 of them, Hamels would be top 5 in strikeouts per 9. Top 5 strikeout artists. And the only guys ahead of him, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Nolan Ryan, and Sandy Koufax. I mean, come on, look at those names.
That's a pretty crazy stat, for a guy that started as many games as he did.
That's pretty good, right? And it's not like he's doing it in a small sample size. He had a 15-year career. And then the rest of the stats fit right in, usually among the top half of Hall of Famers, above the median Hall of Famer. Again, we think of these top guys. But if you look at the entire collection of starting pitchers in the Hall of Fame, and you take Hamels' ERA plus, his strikeouts, he's in the top half of them. He fits right in.
I was actually shocked how close his numbers are to King Felix. That was the comp that really blew me away, because King Felix did have the peak that Hamels didn't, but overall career numbers, they're pretty close.
Yeah, it's almost spooky, right?
Yeah.
How similar they are. They're separated by like a handful of wins, 0.01 in the ERA. Now, as you alluded to, they got there in different ways. King Felix had a sharper, shorter peak.
Yeah.
He's got the ERA totals. He has a Cy Young, which Hamels doesn't. But in the end, if King Felix gets in, and he had a very strong showing for his first year, 20%. If he gets in, and then you look at their career numbers side by side, with Hernandez in, I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to keep Hamels out.
And Hamels has the postseason success. He has the World Series MVP.
NLCS MVP too. Yeah. So let me ask you this.
So what do you value more, the postseason success or the ERA title?
Well, he never said he wanted the season to be over and he couldn't wait to go home. That never happened.
Are you a Phillies? What is going
on? We're trying to put Hamels in the Hall of Fame.
He's not a Hall of Famer. What are we talking about? It's Cole Hamels.
The numbers are impressive.
Hey, take your little numbers and shove them. We have eye tests over here. What are we talking about? I love Cole.
He couldn't take it any longer.
No.
Well, no, I'm just kidding. I love Cole. But seriously.
John, if I were to ask you, if I were to give you a percentage, you give me a percentage chance Cole Hamels ends up in the Hall of Fame. Not the Veterans Committee nonsense or any of that, but in normal voting, what do you think the percent chance Cole Hamels ends up in the Hall of Fame?
It's admittedly pretty low. I think he's probably got like a 30% shot right now.
Well, do the work. Do the work.
But that's why I'm here.
Okay.
That's why I'm turning out my articles.
All right.
Yeah. Get that number higher.
That's great. You and Cindy Webster.
Yeah, trying to get Cole in the Hall of Fame.
In the Hall of Fame.
Well, he could. I'll tell you, John. You convinced me on J-Roll. I'm pretty staunch. J-Roll deserves to be in there, but I'm also a traditional stats guy. I'm 49 years old, and I thought the Hamels thing was great. So sometimes an athlete needs an advocate.
Yeah.
So keep at it, man. I thought you did a great job. Again, if you go to a Substack, it's 2008 Phillies with a Z. John Foley. I'm sure you can just Google it as well. John, thanks for coming on, brother.
Appreciate it, John.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.